I will share with you. Actually, when I was growing up, there was a song that we would sing, but I did not know that there was actually a story behind the song. So I will sing the song and I will share with you the story that is behind the song.
Okay.
Here we go. Moturio moturae shangararaesha Turatura naihenya shangararaesha Mukagwe ngosherae shangararaesha Goshari bionerimo shangararaesha Yaruga no kuriae shangararaesha. There was once a man whose name was Mutoori. And Mutoori, the name, means blacksmith. And our character Mutoori lived up to his name, for he was indeed a blacksmith. And he really enjoyed his work. Whenever he was working with metal, making pots and pans and necklaces and rings, he always had a smile on his face as he did this work. It was not easy. And sometimes he and other blacksmiths would need to go out to look for the raw material, to create their pieces, and to trade, of course. And they would trade their metal things with things made from clay, with baskets, with foodstuff. And sometimes this journey would take many days. Now, before one of these journeys, Mutoori had left his wife at home pregnant. Yes, she was expecting their first child, and he really wanted to be there before the baby was born to take care of the wife and the child. And before he left, he gave a big hug to his wife and promised to be back in not so long. But my dear friends, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and Mutoori was nowhere to be seen. And every day, the wife would look into the distance, hoping beyond hope that her husband would come back on that particular day. But every evening, she would go to bed alone. And of course, time waits for no man. The woman was becoming heavier and more tired. And one evening, as she was sitting in her hut, she heard loud footsteps approaching the house. And she thought, wow, that must be my husband. And with a big smile on her face, she went as fast as she could to the door. But her smile disappeared immediately. For outside the door was no husband, no. But there was a big man with big muscles, hairy all over, with long hair tied in a ponytail flowing down the back, and one big red eye right here. Yes, it was an ogre. And the ogre was carrying on his head a big bundle of firewood. And he dropped down the firewood with a big thud, saying, Motumia orogwatashio. Woman in this house, may you drop dead like the firewood. The woman was scared. She knew, really, that her end had come. What could she do? What could she say? But even before she said anything, the ogre went into the house and began making a fire. And she knew, wow, she needed to say her last prayer. For indeed the ogre was making a fire to eat her up. And she thought of running away. But then she wondered, well, in her state, how far could she go before the giant catches up with her? So she said, well, I am going to go back into my hut and resign myself to fate. And she did exactly that. And she went and found that the ogre was cooking some porridge. And when the porridge was done, the ogre put porridge into 2 calabashes and gave one to her and remained with 1 calabash. And the woman was surprised. Wow, he is actually feeding me? Maybe it's not going to be so bad after all. And the ogre took his calabash of uji, porridge, and with one big gulp, both the porridge and the calabash disappeared into his stomach. And then he looked at the woman who was sipping her uji and said, "Oh, Wadgao, Garia, if you don't want, I will drink it for you." And he took the calabash, turned, used one hand to raise the hair from his neck to reveal another big mouth at the base of his neck. And with one big gulp, the porridge and the calabash disappeared. And well, this is exactly what happened for many days that followed. Every day, the ogre would go out, come back with firewood, drop it with a thud, and cast the woman, make food, give the woman some, and even before the woman had finished, he would take it and eat it as well. And even when the baby came, this did not change. And as you can imagine, the woman became thinner and thinner, and her child, she tried as much as she could to give the child as much milk as she could get. And she remembered that she had some castor oil seeds somewhere in the house. And so, when the ogre was away, she would take her child, take the castor oil seeds, which we call mbareki in my language, go out with them, put them out to dry, eat a few, take them back to the house. And sometimes when she laid the seeds out to dry, birds would come and eat the seeds, and she never chased them away. Now, there was one small dove that came day after day after day to eat the castor oil seeds. And one day, as the woman sat with her child in her arms, the little dove spoke and said, "Woman, every day I come here, I eat your seeds. You never insult me, and you never chase me away. Tell me, what can I do for you?" And the woman asked, "Little bird, if I send you somewhere, would you go?" And the bird said, "Well, let me eat to my fill, and then you can tell me where to go." And the bird ate and ate and ate and ate until it was full, and then said, "Tell me, where do you want me to go?" And the woman said, "Little bird, fly. Fly like the bird you are. Fly as high and as far as you can go. And when you see a group of blacksmiths, sing to them this song. Mutoori go turae, shangararae sha. Tura tura rehanya, shangararae sha. Mukagwe go shiarae, shangararae sha. Go shiari dio nerimo, shangararae sha. Eruga no koreae, shangararae sha. And the dove flew for hours, the whole afternoon into the night, without even pausing. And the next day at noon, the dove saw in a clearing a group of men working with their hammers. And he thought, well, this must be blacksmiths. And so the dove perched on a branch at a nearby tree and began to sing. Mutoori go turae, shangararae sha. Tura tura mehanya, shangararae sha. Mukagwe go shiarae, shangararae sha. Go shiari dio nerimo, shangararae sha. Eruga no koreae, shangararae sha. And the bird sang over and over again. And every now and then, one of the men would think, oh, too much noise. Take a stone, throw at the bird. But the bird just flew to a different tree and began to sing. And finally, one older man listened and said, I think this bird has a message for us. Which among you left a woman heavy with child? And the blacksmiths put down their tools and they listened to the song. And this is what the song means. The song means, blacksmith working so hard, you need to work faster, for your wife has given birth and is being assisted by an ogre, and the ogre knows how to eat, and the ogre knows how to cook. And so when Mutoori heard that, he knew immediately that this message was meant for him. And he put together his tools and set off for the journey back to his house. And when he got there, he found the wife and the child outside, laying the seeds to dry. And he hugged his wife and cuddled their child, went into the house, made a meal and water for them to take a bath. And as they ate, they talked and they decided what to do about the ogre. And in the evening, as the sun went to bed, Mutoori took his sharpest spear and arrows and went and hid himself up on the rafters. And the rafter is where firewood is kept to dry, just above the traditional fireplace. And he waited. And soon, loud footsteps were heard. And as usual, the ogre threw down his bundle of firewood. Motumia, orogo watashio. And from inside the house, the woman, a bit courageous, said, Onawe, orogo watashio. Even you, may you fall down dead just like the firewood. The ogre was surprised and asked, Woman, why are you talking as if the blacksmiths are back? She did not say anything. And the ogre went into the house and began making a fire. And as the smoke came from the fire into the rafters, Mutoori had to close his eyes and try as much as he could not to sneeze. And when the food was ready, the ogre served some for himself and some for the woman, and ate his, and then told the woman, Warega Garia, took the bowl, and when he turned and to expose his neck and put the bowl into the mouth at the back of the head, from high up the rafters, Mutoori aimed his spear and stabbed him right through the heart. And using his arrows, he aimed and aimed and aimed until the ogre fell down dead. And then Mutoori came down from the rafters, took his wife and his young child, and they left the hut to go and begin a new life somewhere else. And I tell you, even today, where I come from, anytime the women lay out their mbareki, castor oil seeds to dry, they do not chase away the birds that come to eat the seeds or insult them, for they know it is one of these birds that saved one of their own. And of course, children still sing this song. Deruga no Korea, Shangararae, Shangararae.